A lot of meditation music to me is, well, wallpaper. Everything done during trancing out or meditation is supposed to be intentional. And yes, I love meditative spaces. I spend a lot of time training my mind. So if we're using sterile or even YouTube AI-generated hour-long music channels, most of it's not designed with real trance state intention. It's designed to make money and generate views. Most Zen music is designed to be lighter weight mentally, and sometimes that doesn't really align with those of us who crave darker frequencies. So why not make your own? Music and sound is a pretty important piece of changing your brain state, so why treat it as background wallpaper? It's like buying pre-assembled particle board furniture. It's okay, but it devalues what you're really worth. This is your body and your mind. I like to conjure it from scratch, from the dark, from whatever I can find outside in the middle of the night, with intention. And I'm going to show you how easy this is, and more importantly, I'm going to explain why I do it. It's taken me a while to learn how to anchor myself and practice mindful training with sound. I always thought I was just playing around. I had different subjective likes and dislikes with no logical explanation behind them. I was wrong. And it took me half of my life to figure out that every like and dislike that I have with music and sound, that there's a real reason and a force behind that, and it's unique to me, and I need to be constantly exploring it. So meditation, a word that's hard for me to use because it's so broad and subjective. When you tell people you're into meditation, they think that you're sitting down somewhere, being all quiet, trying to eliminate everything in your mind. And that's just one definition and one way that you can do it. It's not the way I do it or even the reason I do it. And sound healing, it's a very important part of how I train my mind and keep myself sane in a complicated world. A world that has both sinister intentions and pretty decent ones sometimes. There's not just one track here. And training the mind and choosing a lane is a very hard thing to do. It's easier to react. I use sound design as a tool for grounding. And for me, my particular frequency, I use more darkened tones and music. I've talked about bass and lower frequencies and how they have an effect on your body in another video. I'll link it here. Check that out if you're interested. I've heard dark music in my head my entire life. It's very natural for me. And a lot of that internal music has sort of a Middle Eastern influence to it in a strange way. And these are the tones I've always gravitated towards, even if I end up turning them into something completely different. My sound design is experimental. It's never really planned, yet it has intention. That might not make sense. It makes sense to me. I could write a whole book about this, but it's too long for a YouTube video. So I hear this dark, off-kilter music in my body, in my mind, ancient tones rising up out of sleeping, being awake, ever since I was a kid. Heck, the only reason I gravitated towards heavy metal when I became a teenager was because it was this young person music back in the 80s that had that paralleled darker tone and arpeggios and minor chords to it. I recognized something in it. I craved that. It was dusky. It was the dark notes that I was used to coming from my own heart and my mind, just faster. And now that I'm older, I'm kind of being pulled more towards that slower end again. But I still need that darkness. And why all this darkness? Why not positive, lightweight, lifted major notes Well, lighter, uplifted music is my personal horror music. It makes me cringe. It sounds distressful to me. Evil, fake, plastic. It just makes me feel bad. So Zen music does not work for people like me. What I eventually had to understand was that sound healing is not a one-size-fits-all. Not everybody needs the same medicine. We don't all live on the same frequency. Commercialism tells you there's one right way to meditate. It's a system that jumped on this bandwagon back in the 60s and the 70s. There was this counterculture searching like crazy for something that went against the rigid social systems of that time. They wanted enlightenment. And when they first started exploring it, it was genuine. And the oldest spirit systems offered this to them, something more multidimensional, a science of the mind, especially old Indian systems. Now, over time and into today, those ideas, and especially the word yoga, has been rebranded and it's been sold, and it's very marketable. The meditation, the retreats, but all the meaning behind the steps and the mantras and all that has been stripped away. Yoga and meditation has been reduced to a physical practice, and that sanitation naturally gave way to something that we can see now as toxic positivity. Now, while I have a very high respect for ancient spiritual systems, I'm not really engaging in any of the yogic tradition when I meditate. This is something that I've come to on my own. What I practice is something different, and I call it sovereign magnetism. In physics, you can't create a magnetic field with a single pole. It's not possible. You need both. You need the negative to complete the charge to create the pull. Without the dark in that equation, there is no field. There is no force. There's nothing to move toward you at all. Sovereign magnetism works this same way. It's not about forcing myself into a higher frequency and hoping the right things attach to me. It's about aligning completely in a more balanced way with my experiences and my explorations in this lifetime, my feelings and my chosen path, even the very heavy parts, even the minor key parts, even the parts that people tell me are too negative or even too selfish, which I think is a form of gaslighting anyway. That total authenticity, that's my more natural, balanced dual field. It's what I think creates more magnetism or this real gravity. It's like you've developed in your own gravity ball. I don't use friction as something to overcome. I use it as fuel. There's this collective wisdom that I believe we all have access to. It doesn't come from reading or listening to what someone else is trying to tell you to do or how to live your life. It comes from your own being. I'm just sharing mine today. I thought it would make an interesting video topic. So this ancient wisdom, the idea that darkness is sacred, it's not a modern trend idea. The idea that chaos is not an enemy of creation, but the source of it. It's one of the oldest ideas on earth. In ancient Babylonia, it was Tiamat. In Egypt, it was Nun or Nu, the primordial dark water. The Sumerians called it Namu. In Polynesian mythology, it's Takora, the salt sea of chaos before anything had a form or a name. All across the world, she was not a villain. She was the raw material. Everything that exists, earth, sky, time, was organized out of her body, out of the void that she carried. She is the original fertile void, or the womb. The commercialized idea that wellness means brightness, calm ascension, that's not ancient wisdom. And it totally dismisses that we need to explore our dark sides, our shadows, before we can evolve and be better. Which brings me back to the bird that I recorded in the beginning of this video. I chose the whippoorwill for this weird droning sound design I'm about to make because it's considered a dark bird in my Appalachian folklore. The whippoorwill was believed to be a soul catcher. When it called near a home at the minute of someone's death, it was there to receive the spirit and carry it over the threshold. It's a very obscure bird. You're going to have a hard time spotting one. A creature of the edges. They sing at night, and they're actually disappearing. Fortunately, I live in one of the last areas that you can hear them. And in Canada, they're in Canada, and I think they winter down in Mexico and sometimes further South America. So when I take that bird call and I drag it into the lower frequencies, I'm not just making a sound effect. I'm working with a being, a creature that's always lived on the threshold. Mindful decision for my unique soundtrack that I'll be trancing out to later. I'm pretty much conducting a spell with a bird that was built for obscurity and hidden messages. Okay, first I'm going to put this in here. This is my whippoorwill sound. I'm gonna cut it. I just want this very first part of the noise. I can get rid of that whole thing. And now I'm gonna throw a very big reverb on top of it. I usually use this one. It's massive, like it says, and it's free. I'm gonna down tune it. I'll EQ it just a little, not too much. Now I'll add some density to it real quick. That's all I need for that. Take this off here. Now let me take this microphone off my recording while I record my voice because it can't be in two places at once. Oh na 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 way, oh na 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 way, oh ma 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 way, oh ma 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 way, oh. I basically just play with what I've got going on here. I am not good at giving tutorials because I don't even know what I'm doing when I'm making stuff for myself. If I'm working for someone else, yes, things are planned, but this is experimental. So I got my whippoorwill. It's turned into a weird drone. I've got this low frequency that's turned into a weird drone. I'm going to turn these up. I'm gonna mute my voice for a minute. I like that. It reminds me of when I'm in the mountains and I sit on top of a valley where I can hear the echo of a million crickets at the same time. That is the coolest sound to me. Oh na 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 way, oh 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 na 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 way. You don't have to be afraid of your dark self. If you're anything like me, and I know there are plenty of us out there, you might not respond very well to uplifting Zen music. And you don't have to let a commercialized bandwagon and hive mind dictate what your piece is supposed to sound like. If you're constantly trying to force yourself into a light that feels artificial to your unique frequency, you're going to get the opposite of what you're supposed to get out of being mindful or trying to do any kind of meditation at all. You'll get angry and pissed off. You're fighting your own nature. People are different. But when you learn to navigate your own shadows, when you learn how to reach down into this void that's calling to you, and it always will, something that's trying to get your attention, you can use your own sound design to pull these frequencies that you need to pull for your own self-healing. You'll stop reacting to the world. You become your own sovereign peace. You become your own sovereign space. You become the center of your own gravity. So give yourself and give your mind the respect it deserves and build your own environment for your own sound healing. Go outside into the dark, record some friction, dig around in the mud, see what you can summon. Keep exploring the dark. I'll meet you there.